And so the conversation is growing beyond EBT and food stamps regarding the government shutdown. It includes health insurance. It includes government employees. It's bigger than the whole like welfare state complex. Alex Ansary here, coming to you from Southern Colorado. And I got my mail today and took a look at a particular piece of paper. And there it is telling me that I owe about $3,800 more, and then this is paid off. So I'm about a quarter of the way there. I've been looking at the years 2020 and past that for some time. Others are looking at something called a grand solar minimum as well. It's not just one thing. People get tunnel vision, whether they're looking at politics, economics, cryptocurrency, solar cycles, or other things. It's important to keep our eyes on the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? Talk about a number of different things today. Just got back in. We are dealing with a little bit of snow melt. I went into town today with the affirmation that, well, I love this place. And even though there are some things that I vent about, to create the vibrational field of gratitude is the type of thing that we need to create when we're faced with, a sense of danger. And it may not necessarily be a personal danger, although we can overthink things and ponder our own downfall in certain challenging circumstances. And we should make the attempt to try to go beyond that matrix of fear, even if some things may happen, including the potential of not living forever, or facing some other unfortunate circumstance. Look at the time here. I'm going to try to keep this under 20 minutes. We'll see if we can do that. But I'm going to talk about a number of different things. Follow your hunches, but your hunches aren't always correct. Let's get over ourselves. Hey, I'm going to follow this hunch. I'm going to go over here. Oh, that's a new restaurant. Maybe they're hiring. Some places, ladies and gentlemen, especially when you're greeted at the door by someone that's working there, right? They don't take too kindly to outsiders coming in looking for applications in a lot of places. And the way that this woman responded to me was as if I was asking for spare change. That's what was shocking to me. It's like, okay, most places just say no, not hiring, or they don't have like a certain tone to it. Like, no, we already have a dishwasher. Like, whoa. And I'm getting by financially just doing this, and I will continue to do this. But I always keep my ear to the ground for other things that might be able to improve things really quickly at a little bit of a faster rate. I also like to take, a little bit of time off here and there in between some of the recordings, doing some reading on the prehistory of the Indians of the Four Corners, some very interesting information with regards to that. There was a process called chaining, just so you know. And so the federal government that actually has laws against private ownership and discovery of Indian artifacts is also the same government that had a clear-cut policy. And through the way that they literally cleared the trees in a lot of these areas, a lot of damage was done to archaeological evidence of the ancient Pueblo Indians that lived in this region and beyond, but in particular, more so the Four Corners, which includes multiple states. There's a couple particular sites of relevance with Colorado. It's Mesa Verde and others. And then there's another famous site in Utah, a famous site in Arizona, and some very famous sites, Chaco Canyon, right? I said some of these things look like petrified alien cities, but why? Like why is the formation of some of these rocks like almost so sci-fi? I mean, just beyond this world. I'm looking forward to hopefully next year visiting some places and seeing some of these interesting rocks for myself, some other expeditions, maybe traveling throughout the state of Colorado. Let me get back to the restaurant story. That's the type of thing where a manager should kind of hear that some of their staff are acting a certain way. And there's many times in which I thought about that. I've also met, right, when you actually get a chance to meet some of the, wow. It's not like you're dealing with the highest quality supervisors to begin with. How does that relate to the government shutdown thing? But just keep things in perspective. Just like we're talking about churches, we can elaborate some more. Don't be of a certain mindset, right? Everybody can go back to work at the same time or at the same places during an economic collapse. It's like there's certain things where, like when it snowballs, it's going downhill. Like I talked to you the other day about people can get brainwashed to be defensive to where when someone's literally sharing just a grievance and they're not attacking someone, they can come up against someone else's program to say, stop talking about those things, you damn snowflake, when all they're doing is just talking. Situations can be altered within society to where normal conversations and normal things and normal behaviors, all of a sudden, people may be responding to those things with negativity. It's totally normal to go and ask for a job application. And for whatever reason, right, there's going to be some cases where people have a strongly negative attitude with regards to that because of the snowball effect. And someone that's going to be in the observer perspective and not take it personally is going to be taking the more conscious path. Not hold on to that resentment, but sometimes you may need to say something about it, maybe release, vent a little bit, talk about it. But I'm talking about it to you in relation to help you, so maybe you can keep your cool, because I'm going to laugh it off. I went into town saying, you know what? You and me, we're real different, you and I, this town. But the nature spirit, the spirit of nature, right? It's beautiful. And it's something that I'm still investigating. And it does seem to be in my blood to look at, spirit within nature, by the way. That's clearly there. And so I have to understand that when people disrespect that in me, they're disrespecting it because of a larger concept that they're disrespecting. And I shouldn't take it personally, especially when people come against me in some of these ideas. And not all of them are my own. But some of these concepts, Eastern thought, well, if they want to come against that, go ahead and come against that. And some of these things that deal with the illusions of separation, things that deal with the sun, these are all like recognized topics in the world of mankind. But unfortunately, I don't have, or fortunately, because it's making me work harder on a positive level, I'm having to develop the soul discipline in the type of lifestyle. Other people that are urbanites and have family or have had family in their life, they may not understand the benefit that this way of life has on me because they haven't been in my shoes. They can make recommendations. Hell, they can make judgments. But unless they've actually been in my shoes and actually felt that type of esteem, positive self-esteem and confidence and positive self-image from reflecting on, this is where I've been and this is what I did for myself despite the challenges. And despite, the hardships and the negativity. Earlier, by the way, I made frozen pizza. This is kind of leaning at an angle here. This is a nice little stool here that's flat with a little piece of wood here. And maybe that is the nature of things, though. Just like I got some trees out there that are leaning. They're not standing up straight. They're leaning, but they're strong. The roots are strong. There was a big fear, by the way, last summer with regards to fires. Because it almost seemed as if we were encircled. This area and other areas, just encircled with fires all around. We could see the fires, the spring fire. We could see the 416 fire. We could see other fires in the state of Colorado. Recently, California had the Paradise Fire. Also, there was a black woman on YouTube that was celebrating it because she was saying that it was a bunch of white people that were having their homes burned up. Same type of demonic illusions of separation, demon speak. And then I'm horrified seeing all these people in this lady's like live chat, like, cheering her on or all these thumbs up. And that's the reality of what we're dealing with. See, with me, and let's get back to China, I need to let go of really, like, not a whole lifetime, but definitely the last 10 years. Solid thought forms of me playing a very important role, but one could really take on a lot trying to do that, right? But to wake people up that this system's coming down. And there is a war with the East coming, and they are going to, through the things that are allowed and going to be allowed, I've talked about this in other videos, right? Fourth Horse Rising is on the front page of the YouTube channel, but breach the nation's defenses. So people have enough time to hear this. and then basically formulate whether they're even going to respond to something like that or not, and then whether or not they're even going to respond to something like that or not as things actually begin to move into action. We've also learned about human trafficking for over 10 years, it becoming really large and big, or more of an epidemic. Then there's also the fake news or elements of the things online that exaggerate certain things or certain claims, like certain claims made about that pizza place in DC. That can kind of, oh my God, take the focus from where it should be to things that are actually manufactured. Not to say that that owner of that pizza place didn't appear really weird or strange in those interviews, but there's clearly carrots that are out there that are put out there as bait. People are duped all the time into things that take their focus, that draw their focus. Let's go back to that restaurant and get a little bit more into this government shutdown. I guess some Native Americans may be set to lose their benefits. We're talking about whether that's right or not, if there, according to this article, is already a pre-agreement between them and the federal government. We'll get back to that in a minute. And so I feel really grateful that I have a home to come back to, even if it's unregulated and there's fears of the future. Some say Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030, more regulation, things being illegal tomorrow, maybe being enforced by flying robot drones that come in from Galaxy One that just drop down. And we heard you were an unregulated human. Show me your identification. Who knows, right? And there's a fair amount of stress, so that comes to those of us when we think about the future of regulations of the way that we live. Because people like me, unless there's going to be there's a lot of people like me that live like me in this community and area, some other place in Colorado and some other states. How is this going to fare out, though, in 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years? Unless we see a major event. Or is society going to become more conscious to the point where it starts developing homelessness and poverty solutions to people just living out of their cars or living in Walmart parking lots, and people basically being left to their own devices, if you will, as long as they're not hurting anyone. And not everyone has that luxury in every county, city, and state. It's not easy to be off the radar. It's nearly impossible. Hell, try doing that with a YouTube channel. But one has to pick their fights carefully if they want to live in peace. And for most of my life, there's been just this constant running and running and running and running. Even in high school, enrolled in 6 high schools in a single calendar year. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that, but there is this, some of you know that, long history of me moving. And that period, and even when I had apartments or was renting rooms when I was living in Portland. So whether I was living with my parents, much younger, but later on into adulthood, apartments and renting rooms, later on the off-grid journey for a few years, not actually having a permanent residence, at least for 1 year, one could say homeless, but not wandering around, lost, wondering what my name is, reparking my car in my homemade teardrop camper, figuring out, well, what do I do next? Because I knew that waiting tables and dressing like a penguin was not going to be the continuation in the next few years. And I don't mean to tell this whole story, but I knew that embracing poverty, if you will, or a world without less. That's why I went to Costilla the first time. They were traveling all throughout the state and other places to find something that felt right. Like someone needs to be willing to sacrifice the travel, the money and expenses and gas to be able to go through the adventure. And people hating on you. And especially if you have a YouTube channel and you're shining the light on things. And I've come to realize that, there's a trail of energy that I've left in these different places. And some people, right, even if they're rural and different, right, than some of these places in which we were born in. So me leaving Portland, Oregon, I'm looking at into the great wide open. And there were some dreams that were shattered. It doesn't mean that all of them were shattered and that I can't create a new. I can create a new, and 2019 should be a year of getting a lot of things done. I talk in another video, which I'll edit and upload later. The audio is a little crackly because I'm in the car. Try to appreciate for what it is because the video is good and I'm in the car and the audio isn't as good, but it's decent frame rate and I think it's improvement from where we were. I'm not happy that this computer is not recognizing my USB microphones. It's some bullshit. But I'm not a techie, and I don't have a techie on hand. I assume that if I keep checking driver software programs that are free that I can download off the internet, that eventually I'll hit my 777 and maybe I can, fix what's going on here. I don't have other computers and backups. There is a crack through the screen. What I'm kind of doing right now is just laying it ride. I don't currently have a GoFundMe or a GoFundly. I know that Jared suggested I get one sometime back. Maybe I should, for maybe like broadcasting equipment and maybe for some other things. I'm just not in a rush. I am laying it ride, putting a lot in the hands of the creator. Going back to that restaurant, it is an example what I went through of the increased tensions that might all of a sudden happen because, and this could be completely separate from the government shutdown, but of course it's a mountain town, it's winter, it has its snow, but maybe there's just not enough business. Walking in around noon, only so many people are in there, maybe a sense of great disappointment, maybe a sense of fear that someone's going to take their job, and understand that. And understand some of the things that people are going through. And some people literally have to work full time, all the time, without a break, just to make their rent and pay for their food and utilities. And there's really nothing left over. And it just repeat, repeat, repeat. Anytime you see someone righteously escape that way of life, right, you should celebrate that and support that. Especially when someone else's death isn't required, or an animal's death. I'm not a vegetarian, right? But it's not required for me to sell you actual cow flesh. I got nothing against it. But I know for years and years as a busboy from those heavy, heavy plates that I used to lift, also trays over the head when I was busting at Rithkin, I could definitely do a big old tray over my head. Did some food running. Was the only person who was able to do that. People were shocked here, but it's like at the Portland restaurant, those types of skills and balancing were really, really required. But also in the industry of food service, those of you that done work the food service understand the taller guys are usually the ones put into some of those positions more so than the shorter guys due to the logistics of what's involved with that. And of course, other things. Long-term viewers know there's a reason why it was critical for me to distance myself and my energy from food service. But for some reason, I would always be, during hard times, I would always gravitate back to it. And it would be in recent years, in my brief return to it after many years apart, in which it was like, it's not it itself, it's the environments, it's the people you might be working for and working alongside. That's what makes it all the more worse. Worse. It's a different world. So all that gunk and all that funk that's actually going on with people, right? The real world's going to have that. So the programming on Facebook, the programming on social media, you can say that I'm very, 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 very grateful that the last couple of years, and I had a part-time job for a couple of years helping someone else online with his website, but it's been well over a year since I've been let go from that, and I've been able to survive with your help specifically. My AdSense is plummeting now again down to about 100 a month because I'm not doing these constant videos throughout the day. You see what's up. I do these long videos. That's not really, sure, ads are running on it, but there's only so many people seeing it. That's how it works. That's why you see people with thousands and thousands of views per video, or millions of subscribers, rather, complain about burnout. Even they deal with the economics of it, although it's not really clear why they're so burnt out because they have so many viewers. I would say this, and I'm going to add this to it. Let's move economics away from it and the apocalypse for a moment. People could be burnt out on YouTube that are big YouTubers because of the stress of having so many eyeballs on them. And also, like, certain times and periods, depending on where we are in the what, solar cycle. So during a solar minimum, with less of that solar energy, some people that are online a lot, looking at the screen, engaging with all these people, positive or negative, it's going to cause a certain amount of burnout. So why do I not inundate myself with even elements of praise at this time? Because I can see how too much concern about criticism and desire for praise can affect the brain in a negative way. And it hit me recently that I have to apply even more discipline to keep my focus on the truth and for my own ego to not be too adulterated or toyed with. And that comes with how the people at the moment are responding. That would be likes, comments. So that's great if you like this. And that's great if you found this for the first time. It's definitely not necessary for audience members to have direct connections with the hosts. Think about how that has been basically impossible for years within the realm of TV and within the radio field. Think about these people that talk to millions and millions and millions of people. And that's what it is. They're putting on a show. Once in a while, they may have guests. And that's a different mindset. YouTube and the interaction can be really cool. It also can really change the nature of what it is that people do. And there is an element of our society that is lonely. I acknowledge that. And I admit that I'm a part of the lonely society. There's ways that are false solutions to the loneliness, however. So there are solutions to loneliness. Some of them are false solutions, just like there's false religions and false other things. Getting involved with too much of certain things on the internet, especially when the internet's consumed most of your life, and for me it has, especially since MySpace came about and then the jump from Facebook. And so using those mediums, posting, and then also the disappointment from especially recent years of feeling, some people use the word shadow banned, but just feeling like the algorithm on multiple of these platforms has altered us, has altered a sense of self-value. And ultimately it's meant to do that. It's meant to inflate some people's sense of self-value when in fact they really haven't built anything beyond YouTube, let alone a website. And so there is some, I would say there's ways in which people are rewarded for being cruel with their channels. And in a way, I'm able to see the Matrix operate in this way. And it can almost be a little bit intense. Like we just entered into it like a different realm. Like YouTube was different, by the way, a couple years ago. It wasn't a golden age for years. My channel wasn't monetized. But there's something about the dynamic now that has made certain things undesirable, elements of the medium, elements of the engagement. And there isn't enough real life engagement with people that verbally acknowledge understanding the message. Now, that's not necessarily something that I can change. I kind of now am looking at things from a more spiritual perspective as possible, because if I'm in a state of desire and resentment regarding what is not there, then there's things to be fulfilled spiritually to where I'm above the suffering. And now I want to be above the suffering. I want to be above the suffering. And in order to be above the suffering from what I feel has it come back to me in a positive sense, anyway, a whole new way of looking at this has to come about. We talk about gratitude. I talk about a recent situation to where even a bank manager confronted me for filming at a town about an hour away, and then some other things, a woman looking at me and crossing the street. I kind of had a strong desire for things even work to something to manifest there. And sometimes because I'm super sensitive, and things are tough economically and there's a lot to be concerned with, I'll be afraid they don't have enough money. There's not enough coming in. And that maybe I need to be out there even working full time and to put the YouTube channel on pause. And there's times in which I've done these things, folks, and it almost seems as if some bad luck has kind of jumped in my path. Just so you know, like last year, went to work for a little bit and ended up being pulled over during a brief period for not having insurance. My insurance just ended. That's how weird that was. It's not like they knew. It was almost as if something in the Matrix set me up. Kind of a coincidence. The point is, that was a $500 ticket. How much did I earn working at that fast food place over the course of a month? About $900, or about 3 weeks I worked there. The first week was 9 days. It was a 9-day week. though a week of 7 days, right? And without getting to everything that happened there and the two other restaurants that I worked at, I've come across these personality types in both management and coworkers that's way less or subpar. It makes the Ruth Chris, it makes me miss some of the experiences that I had in Portland. It makes Portland look good. There are elements of rural conservative America, the lack of respect for someone willing to come in and almost be the humble dishwasher. There is a real again, at some of these important places, it wasn't a lot of respect, but it did seem that there was, with some managers, the reality of proving yourself by being a hard worker. And there is kind of like a colder tone to some of these other places, however, to where it just, and I can think about that sociologically all day long. But the point is, these are kind of warning signs also when you deal with government shutdowns and people are losing sources of income. Um, there's nothing that I'm particularly losing of particular importance at this time, but others maybe and or are. So you have people losing this or unemployment benefits, or people that really need their EBT that may lose it. And the reality of that and other things, you have the potential not only for crime, but let's just look at the obvious, like just a massive like flight into particular places asking for applications at the same time. Can you imagine that? And also think about also those people that haven't suffered at the same rate as others. They may be super talented or skilled, or maybe they have been privileged, or maybe they're actually just not hurting financially and they don't have to work. Remember, there are those people that actually don't have to work themselves or and are on disability, SSI, that will point their finger at other people and say, go get a job, you bum. I know this because people have done this to me that receive money from the government that are on disability, dozens over the years. Dozens and dozens and dozens of people have trolled me or attacked me over the years in person and around that were connected to SSI. And being a public person, talking about some of these conspiracy ideas where some people that are mentally unstable latch to some of us that are hosts and throw energy at us. We've dealt with an element of society by being public figures where we've dealt with a higher than average level of mentally ill people, especially if you deal with conspiratorial topics. Some could say that, well, we drew it to us by even daring to talk about those topics. But that's a perspective, and it's an honest perspective. And I actually understand that perspective, and they're not exactly wrong. We do kind of take the risk of dealing with all of the strange type of personalities that can throw energy at us and perhaps more, perhaps actual objects at us if given the chance, if we get within throwing distance. And so people need to keep this in mind. In today's day and age, we're not living as stars. There's no get-togethers. There may be with some YouTubers that are actually able to gain enough views and support. They can not only buy steak, but buy a home. I think I'm going to eat a little meat in just a little bit, but to get an extra home and another home, and some of these people act like they're starving when they're not. So when people all of a sudden lose something, whether it's something that they have had for a long time that they're not used to not having, and they lose that, all of a sudden, wow, what a surprise. Things change in a big way. And not everybody responds to those changes in a very positive light, right? So people could be having this mindset in their mind that Obama did a great job with the economy that led to Trump, or vice versa. And so they may be thinking that there's jobs hemorrhaging everywhere. And the greater reality is you actually have people that are gatekeepers at a lot of these jobs. They're in charge of the hiring, and they're measuring whether they even want some people on based on their own biases. A lot of people, keep this in mind, will run a short crew as opposed to not judging that application because something was misspelled or something didn't feel right or that person didn't look like what they thought a person should look like. Like, I'm amazed at this energy that I feel even bothering to ask certain people anymore. And I'm grateful that I really just don't have to do that unless this whole medium just completely goes away. And right now it is not. It is still here. And so for that, I am very grateful. I look at the signs. I look at the patterns. I look at these attempts that I've made, now over 10 in some cases, to, hey, universe, if you just want to just bring me on and hire me in some of these other places and completely pull me away from YouTube, I'm open to what you want to show me. And I threw out some feelers, some tentacles, if you will, etherically. And slam door, slam door, slam door energy. I physically went down to a DoubleTree. And they're like, apply online. And it's like, at a certain point, it's like, you know, I was actually down here in person. Don't send me back to my computer. I know we've gotten really like in the Borg and whatnot, but I was right there walking into the restaurant. And so, yeah, I realize I'm no longer the handsome 25-year-old that I used to be. A little bit of humor there. Some people are like, you were never handsome at 25. So I don't know what it was, folks. But I'll tell you what, in my early 20s, mid-20s in Portland, it was a lot smoother walking in and getting the process going. You go to some of these smaller towns, it's a different reality. So I'm grateful that I'm not in that same position of that taller yet very beautiful white girl that was right behind me when I go in that restaurant and those other white girls snap at me. She witnesses that. She's also obviously going in there for an application. She didn't seem to be going in there alone to be eating eggs and ham. So this other woman who's right behind me, you know, she's also going to get an application. She witnesses that lady snapping at me. No, we don't have any dishwashing positions. What, did you see what? Like, whoa, I'm sorry. And I noticed both of the white waitresses were just throwing energy. That lady saw that and walked out too. And it's like, I don't know if people actually know that these things are happening. And then as I drove home, and I felt bad. I didn't let it ruin my day, but it was just this gratitude. And I worry about other people, even my own mother in the Big Apple and other places, the things that they may go through in their lives. And I'm grateful to people like you that allow me to do what I do here, those that support on Patreon, those that support at random when you choose to. No, you know, I do miss many ex-coworkers. I've never heard from, no one ever remembers me from jobs. It's always YouTube. It's always the things that involve me speaking and being who I am. It's always been about that. Sure, I wish things could be a little bit better, but there's really nothing. It'll be strange because people from my past life once in a while be like, hey, Alex, I'm one of those people you used to know from your past life before that period and gap where you didn't hear from us for 10 years. Oh, and now we're like, hey, remember us? Yes, I remember all y'all. I remember the whole story. Did you guys remember me? Did y'all keep up with me? And the other thing that I like is when people, hey, Alex, do you know these bigger speakers that have all these people support? Do you follow them? You should follow them. You should follow. No. How do you go to them and say, hey, have you heard of Alex Ansary? This guy that hardly anybody mentions, who single-handedly has talked about certain issues. And he's also the only one such XYZ. You can do that. You can do that. You can be the only person that's going to send them a message. You're going to be like, no, I've never heard of this dude, Alex Ansary. All I've heard so far was just a bunch of fucking stay away from the mofo. But no, really? Is there some good stuff? Well, what would you recommend? And maybe you can recommend a video. Maybe some people can get beyond what they've said or how things appear. I mean, one time somebody thought I worked with Alex Jones or was trying to be him. And it's like there's ways in which people just throw insults and stuff without even really knowing the basics of human etiquette. Approaching someone, starting a conversation, not jabbing them verbally. And a lot of people now are psychopaths, male and female. Most of the psychopath energy has been nearly all male that's been thrown at me. The females have been a very quiet, absent. They keep their drama. They keep the drama off for the most part. Every now and again, though, it has to be brought up. There are people that think that an occasional bit of praise through a comment section is somehow indicative of showing support. This type of, it's almost as if we become an insectoid species. Have you ever thought about that? For this type of, this is how we communicate. And then we almost like, well, what is this? What is this type of thing? Like this, you sent me this thing in the YouTube comment and somehow that's us having this. No, it's not. You guys found this channel. It's awesome. It's awesome. You found this channel. I would definitely subscribe. I would definitely like. You guys need to get the like ratio up more. You guys need to work a little hard to get the likes up. You should never let the other side come in and start flipping tables around. Always make sure there's a far, 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 far. But it's like, that's all on you. That's all on you. But as far as I'm concerned, right, this is a medium that I'm blessed to have. And maybe through this medium in time, it can create real support, real friendship. Maybe there can be situations in which, while I'm still alive, I can see what beautiful women are like. People that appreciate my content, but it's not going to come through the YouTube comment section. The universe can create a situation where someone comes out of a market and they recognize me, and it's a positive thing. It's not a weird thing. The universe can orchestrate that. I pray for that. I can meet some girl who's more on the bummy side, but beautiful and into this content, and maybe even has her own, maybe even like has her own thing going on, and isn't looking for the typical jock dude or cop dude or Marine. Who knows? The universe could orchestrate that. Someone like that, who's at that soul caliber, could incarnate into the earth realm. But that's beyond me. That's up to the universe. But never think that the YouTube comment section somehow makes up for a world of pain. That's why I don't look, right? I have a friend, take care of the basic moderation, love, 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 but it's a simulation. Be serious. Be serious now. There's no way, if all of you were screaming telepathically at a radio host on TV when you were a kid or a TV host, that they would be able to keep their sanity with people screaming voices in their head. Too much of the YouTube comment section as a way to just engage with people on the internet, that can simulate parts of the brain that are all about the mental illness, baby. All about the mental illness. Right? So the feminine is going, I'll look every now and then on Patreon if somebody wants to leave a comment. But the YouTube comment section being like the nightclub is a stepping stone to like something akin to a microchip, in my opinion. And unless you want me to tell you something that I don't really believe in, I mean, if you're into that kind of content, you can go that way to AMTV. You can go that direction to somewhere else, but maybe some of them do believe some of the things that they're saying. I really don't think that they do. I really think that some of them know that Donald Trump is trouble, right? But somehow they are employees of something. I mean, the power of suggestion is amazing. So, maybe they really do admire Donald Trump as they say, wow, I really like him. He reminds me of me. But when you hear people say that, that's almost like going too far with it. You don't want to go too far with it. So some of these people have literally wrapped up, like Christopher Green, their own personality with that of the president. And that is bizarre. So like there really is like a micro wake up real truth movement within the fake truth movement. If you can wake up to the fake truth movement and all of the fake truths within it, and you find the inversion and you know how to go 180. Like, for example, if you're a woman and you realize that there's a fake truth movement that's promoting racism, then you're not actually a real truther female until you actually do something to go against the illusions of separation. Okay, no. You don't just simply do that by dating some dude who's super, super dark. No. I'm not saying that it's yes. No, I'm saying that it's in your actions. Once you start waking up, right, that there is something to 911, but these 911 truthers aren't really 911 truthers, and now they're demonizing all Muslims, maybe there's room there to like see some amazing feminine expressions. People go, no, we're going to go back old school. This is what went down then. And since then, all of these people have been killed that basically women brought into this world. That is the ultimate oppression. Where's that at? Well, I'm here to say, where's the generation of women that are going to bring this to the light? Because unless there's going to be a generation of women that are going to bring us to light, there is no truth movement. There is no awakening. It's just like we are continuing to live out this aborted fetus reality, the fallen world. But ultimately, that's what this is. And that's the proper context, right? Don't lose yourself in the whole everybody's got to wake up or we're going to start going over the cliff. No, we're already over the cliff. Elements of our society already crashed. Dumb down, hit his head. You hear? Dumb down, dumb, hit his head. Humpty Dumpty. Who's going to put Humpty Dumpty back together again? Humpty Dumpty, dumb fucked up. It's junkies, man. You don't shoot up on a brick wall. You're going to fall down, not off. You're going to crack your skull, bro. And then just at that point, your friend can't go to hospital with you, probably go to jail. You're dumb fucked up. So we got to realize our soul got zapped in here. It's like quantum leap. How do we get out? as we look at these spiritual texts, I'm trying to wrap things up, coming up shortly. In this new year of 2019, there's going to be a lot of things that may trigger you and trigger others. This doesn't sound like my pastor. Then go away. At what point did the description of Outside the Box TV said, your church, custom tailored for you. Please don't go away. Please, please, I'll tell you anything you want to hear. There's nothing in the description of this channel that says I'll tell you what you want to hear. If you gravitated to it and you like the content, great. Otherwise, the door is that way. But there's not going to be any interference run. And interference can also be run when people say, oh no, Alex, we really do appreciate you. We really do. Like maybe in spirit, but in the real world, I live alone, I stand alone. And I speak to a very small audience. And in spirit, we are not alone. We are connected on that level. And that is to be recognized. There's always the place to talk about the knock on wood, the actual physical world, and to be able to separate that from internet worlds, from astral dimensions, and from the dream realm. Right? Yeah, this has its own reality. Absolutely. It's a virtual reality. And I'm happy to share my virtual reality with you, or my reality with you in a virtual setting through 2D. When was the last time I've had coffee with a beautiful woman? When was the last time I've had a real sense of romance? When was the last time I had a really good time with a bro in person, not through email? Someone that I actually know, someone from the old school. When was the last time I heard from someone from the old school who's actually been following up with my video series and being aware of what I talk about from the old school, not just someone that pops up to go, hey, Alex, remember me? Hey. And I'm not talking about one particular person, like various people will do that. I think they were just trying to, in some cases, get me to look at them. They're like, hey, yeah, I recognize you. You're right there. All right, hi. And I'm over here and I'm talking about this. All right, now. And what a lot of people don't understand is how much pain I've been through being alone for so many years. That right now, at this stage of my life, it can't be about anybody else in a one-on-one setting. Right now, it's just me keeping myself together without a support group and without people interviewing me going, Alex, you realize you survived all this stuff without a support group. And you had a shitload of people with their personal problems trying to emo dump in your lap. Go, help me, healer Alex. Help me, healer Alex. But nobody from any interviewer, newspaper, radio, no Michelle Wallings of the world has ever come up to me, no Alfred Webber's of the world. Alex, how did you do it? Where did your strength come from? Where did your drive come from? What are your basic ideas, your understandings? I think that people should want to know. I think that people should want to know when someone's up against the wall, why they do what they do. Because I'm not going to nightclubs after these. I'm not going on limo rides. That everything is about this lifestyle that's all based on speaking this truth and then maybe taking breaks in between the videos that I do, maybe eating some food, maybe going to the bottom of the hill, maybe a toke, maybe eating a meal, maybe drinking some water, maybe drinking some coffee, maybe going to sleep and then hitting record again, and then the cycle repeats itself. But doing it all off the grid and being of the bloodline of those that are being bombed back to the Stone Age. Who else does that while living in Colorado? All of those elements and more, there's no comparison. You can find other YouTubers, you can find more popular YouTubers, but when you're dealing with those other elements, including elements of content and other things, right? Dead end. There's only me. So just like I may have a unique fingerprint, you have a unique fingerprint, and there could be unique truth that you have. I'm going to try to find an exit here. And if you were able to deprogram from certain things and be able to see your own truth clearly, what would it say? And so I'm going to leave it with that. Feel free, if you would like, to check out the links down below and support this broadcast. I'll be back with more.